I think you should grab a drink, maybe some crackers, because I feel like this is going to be a long one because it's been a while. So if you don't have that kind of time and you want to just speed through this, there's wherever the down bar is, there's a little wheel and you can adjust the playback speed and make me go faster. So I apologize in advance if this is a long episode, but it's been 7 months. I know. And I'm sick again. I'm homesick with a pneumonia. So I have no excuse not to record. I've had a podcast on my to-do list for months now. I just couldn't find the motivation. I'm sure that happens to everybody. But it's definitely not because I haven't been busy knitting, making, doing all kinds of things. So I have a lot to catch you up on if that's what you're here for. So I made a big list of all the stuff that I've been up to. So I'll get to the knitting first because I'm guessing that's why you're here. And then I'll talk about my travels and books and what other crafty things I've been dabbling in. So put on your seatbelt. Might be a bumpy ride. It's gonna be a long one. I don't know how bumpy it's gonna be, but we'll see. Anyway, focus. Okay, so let's start with where you can find me because I think I forget to do this often. I'm Mimimustknit everywhere. On YouTube, on Ravelry, on Instagram. I even have a Facebook page, but I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. Not really sure why, because when I post on Instagram, it automatically posts to Facebook and I get way more interaction on Facebook. So that's where you can find me. My name is Milan. If you have not been here, then welcome. If you're coming back, then welcome back. I appreciate you coming to hang out with me. It's been a long time. It's been 7 months. I've been on a lot of trips since then. Well, not a lot, but some big ones. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk some knitting, shall we? I watched my last video this morning before just to see where I was at as far as knitting goes before I sat down to record this. And I've made a lot of things since then, mostly socks, but I wanted to just touch on the fact that I was talking about the terrazzo and I think it was the holiday pullover, the petite knit patterns that I wasn't sure I was gonna wear or not. It's now December, I think it's December 21st today. It's Saturday. It's a forced day off for me. I should be working, but the doctor said, nope, because I might be contagious and nobody wants a pneumonia before Christmas or for Christmas, like Merry Christmas, here's a pneumonia. So it's been cold enough that I have needed to wear knitted things to stay warm. Went for a walk yesterday because I was actually feeling a little bit better and I wore all the woolies and it was lovely. But I have not worn either of those pieces at all. So I'm wondering if I'm actually gonna wear them and if I should rip them out. I don't know. What do you guys rip out stuff that you don't use or do you just give it away, gift it? The holiday pullover, just because of the big armholes, I'm not sure if it's that wearable. I should really make an effort to try to wear it before I sentence it to being ripped out. Anyway, so that's just an update on that. I can talk about what I'm wearing today. This is the original Grandpa Cardi, the one that I'm basing mine on. And maybe now you get what I mean about the color. It's kind of a yucky, yellowy beige. And this thing has seen better days. I used to wear this to work all the time. I was a legal secretary before I was a dispatcher. So this is ink on my sleeve. I used to just leave it at the back of my chair all the time. I would wear it when I made copies, whatever. Anyway, it's a disaster. And the pocket's coming out. So this is the sweater. When I saw it, I figured I should probably wear it just to show you guys why I'm trying to recreate it, because this one is icky. The other thing that I'm wearing is this really awesome t-shirt. It's just like a t-shirt that I got at the Cheerfully Made craft show in Almont a few weeks ago. Bush she makes beard balms. She's a small company, like a small business. She makes beard balms and oils. I think she has soap, she has chapstick. She has really cool merch anyway. And I love the Bush. She has baseball caps that say I love Bush on them. It's so cute. I will link her store down below if you have a dude in your life that has a big beard and you need some beard balm. I just figured it would save me making the beard balm. My best friend Eric has a big beard. It's like, I keep trying to get him to shave it, but at least trim it. But it's like a really big, unruly beard. So I was gonna make him some beard balm for Christmas, but I decided to buy it from Candace instead. Save me time, and then I'm supporting a local small business. So that's awesome. And I was at this market with my friend Nancy, the Cabin Design Co. sweater that I was wearing in my last video and probably a couple of videos before that. I was at the market helping her out. So this is editing Milan. That was a really bad transition between talking about the craft show to talking about my knitting. So this is your new transition. I made 3 emotional support chickens. I gave away one. This one is for my cousin Lorianne. She's a little cockeyed. When I put the safety eyes on, I was sure they were straight. And then when I looked, they're not straight. So I'm like, I'm really sorry, Laura, but you have a chicken with some really weird eyeballs. And she was totally okay with it. It's gonna make her laugh, I think. She's still cute, right? And I'm just using leftovers to make all my chickens. The other one was for me, and she's sitting on the sofa, but she's big. I called her Imogen. This one doesn't have a name yet. And then I made one for my mom. She works at one of the local theaters, and I think they called theirs Althea because it's the Ottsville Theater. So it was kind of like a play on words. So I think her name is Althea, and she lives in my mom's office. So that's really fun. I made a lot of hats. I made 4 plain ribbed hats. This is just one of them. I gifted, actually, how many did I make? 5? Because I made 2 like this. This is a drops pattern. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I'll link all my projects in the description. So if you're curious about them, you can go check. But I really liked the decrease of this, but dudes, it looks way better on the inside, in my opinion. So I've been doing that to a lot of my hats, like just my 1x1 rib hats, the way I decrease it, and then I flip it over. I divide it into quarters, and then I flip it inside out when I finish it. And because I do a center double decrease, and it makes a really nice finish inside. So I made 2 like this out of the Drops Air that I got on sale on Black Friday. And then I made 3 just plain ribbed hats that I didn't use a pattern for. I made 2 party line scarves. That is a pattern by Casey of, God, what's her podcast name? I don't know. She's pretty popular. Maybe you'll know her. I'll link her page anyway. Something knits. Anyway, here's the little pattern. It's kind of a sweet little, it's got a little lace detail. I actually was put onto this when I watched Leanne. Hi, Leanne. Thank you for the kick in the pants to record this episode, by the way. She had talked about a scarf that she made, and I really liked it. So I went and got the pattern, and I used some of my hand spun and made this version for myself. It's super cute. I made it significantly longer than it called for in the pattern, so I can actually wrap it a couple times. And then I liked it so much that I made one as a gift for my friend Virginia. So it's a great little, you know, not so heavy, not too bulky, little scarflet, I guess. And it was really fun to make. It's quick, it's easy to memorize. That is all. That's all I can say about this. I really wish I could remember the name of that girl's podcast. She lives in the foothills of the Ozarks. I could probably repeat verbatim her whole intro, but I can't remember the name of her podcast. I'm getting old. I made 2 Icelandic sweaters. One, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the little reel that I did because I made that sweater for my son when we went to Iceland. And I'll talk about that trip a little bit later. But when we landed in Iceland, we had like one day in Reykjavik, and then the next day was the first full day, and we went to the Alafoss store, which is really cool. I remember going there the first time I went to Iceland and bought yarn to make my first Icelandic sweater. I still have that pattern. I actually whipped it out the other day. Talk about that later, but my goal was to make my son a sweater while we were in Iceland. So we were there for 11 days, 10 days, 11 days. Anyway, it's not important. My goal was to make a sweater while we were there. My son and my sister were both driving. I was not driving at all. So the least I could do is knit a sweater. Why not? So bought the yarn for my son's sweater. Also bought 2 sweaters quantity for me, and then a sweaters quantity for my sister and her husband. So that is a lot of yarn. Like my brother-in-law is not a small person, so that was a lot of yarn. And then 2 sweaters for me. Thank goodness my son's sweater was knit up, so that got rid of some of the yarn. But anyway, so you can watch the video on me creating that on my Instagram, Mimimustknit. Go check it out. It's a funny video. And then when we got home, I knit my sister's sweater. So I'll just insert a picture right here because I don't have it. I gifted it to her already and she loved it. I didn't get any pictures of her wearing it, but while we were in Iceland, we all wore sweaters that I knit, which was bomb. Jaka brought one of his sweaters that I knit a long time ago. It was not an Icelandic sweater, but it was still a sweater. And my sister was wearing the sweater that I made with the yarn from my first visit to Iceland. It doesn't fit me anymore. I'm probably like 6 sizes bigger than I was back then. But anyway, we were just all wearing knits that I made. Hats, cowls, sweaters, socks. It was fun. It was good. So 2 Icelandic sweaters. I have a 3rd one on the needles, which I'll show you after. I made a traveler cowl. Everybody knows what that cowl looks like. I don't need to whip it out, but whatever. I also made I've been obsessed with color work cowls. I'm not a huge cowl person, especially the bigger ones, because to me it defeats the purpose. You're making a neck thing that's not going to keep your neck warm. So to me, it's kind of a useless thing to knit. But these really nice graphic cowls are kind of a thing that I've been obsessing with. So I was talking about that at work one day, and one of the girls is like, oh, okay, well, you can make me that one. So went online, found some yarn for her. She was like, I want those colors. Okay. So she bought the yarn, had it delivered here. I knit her a cowl, and this is what it looks like. I think it's really pretty. So the next thing that, well, it's not the next thing I knit. These things are not really in order. They're just in order that I'm picking them up. These are the Flying Geese mittens. They're a pattern by my friend Mary. They are called the Flying Geese mittens, and I test knit this for her. And I use stash. A lot of these projects I use stash for. That's kind of my goal lately, is to use as much stash as I can. So these are the Briggs & Little, is it Sport? The the taupe color or the gray color. And the red is Belle Bouclette. And it's I think it's a mohair blend. Mohair and wool blend. And let me tell you, this yarn is like so soft. If you ever get a chance to work with it, it's lovely. I really like these mittens, they're cute. But Norwegian mittens like this are not, they're not my friends. So they worked out, I think. They fit me, so that's a good thing. I once designed a pair of mittens like this, but they were too short and I kind of gave up. I took the same course as Mary did. She just went and designed a whole bunch of different pairs of mittens, and I am still waiting for my original mittens to work out in my brain. So these are the Flying Geese mittens if you are into this type of mitten. I've made a lot of socks in the last 7 months. I don't always put my socks on Ravelry because some of them are just socks that I have on the go when I'm at work, just to keep my hands busy so I don't fall asleep on the night shifts when it's like, you know, 3 in the morning and there's nothing going on. So I don't keep track of all the socks I knit, but these are the ones that are notable, I guess. So these are the Over Easy socks by Holly O. I thought they were super cute. They were, when I saw the pattern, I was like, that's a really interesting construction and I really want to know how to make these. So I used stash and I ran out, as you can see here. So I found the closest yarn I could find just to finish the heel, the ribbing, anyway, the ankle. So these were really cute. I love the toe construction. It's kind of like a shadow wrap, but a double shadow wrap. And I like the shape of it. So it's a great toe. I thought the heel was very interesting, but also very odd. I feel like there's a lot of fabric there, and most of my complaint is usually that the heels are not deep enough, but this is definitely, there's a lot of room in here for the heel. So I don't know where the daylight went. I'm sorry. I hope this is bright enough. I think I can brighten it in editing later. Anyway, so these are super cute, great for stash busting. I don't even know if there's 50 grams in here. I doubt it. So give them a try. It's definitely an interesting construction. I don't know that I'll ever do it again, because to me, socks are just like something I do mindlessly. And these, you can't do that. Definitely can't. I don't know if I worked on these at work at all. But anyway, I have 4 other pairs of socks here. It's not fancy. These are just my go-to numbers, plain toe-ups. The heel I do is a heel flap and gusset, but it's the Sockmatician. You come up with your own numbers. He kind of sets out a formula for you to figure out how to do your heel shape, like your numbers for stitches and stuff. And to me, the heel fits really great because I like a heel flap and gusset, but I don't like a short row heel that you have to do when you're, usually the norm when you're doing toe ups is that you do a short row heel or a shadow wrap, and I'm not a huge fan of those because they're not deep enough for me. So this is yarn that I dyed. This might be a yarn mop from when I did the dye workshop in 2018. I think it might be a yarn mop. That's why it's kind of a disaster, but I think they're cool anyway. Sorry, I have to keep pausing to drink water and cough. So I apologize for that. Here's another pair of plain socks. They're always the same, my socks. This yarn, it's Jinx yarn. I think it was like something Carnival. I'll link, my project page will be linked anyway, so you can see. I just like these grungy colors. So that's pair number 3. Oh, I wish I remembered. I'm really not a pink person. So when I was knitting these socks, everybody was wondering, like, pink? Really? For you? You know, they assumed it was maybe a gift, but they're for me. I think they're cute. I mean, it's not like I'm wearing it near my face. So I think they're cute. I think the yarn is a homespun house. I just don't remember the colorway. So I'll link it in case you like the yarn and you want to know what it is. And this one, Turtle Pearl yarns in the Absinthe colorway. Had a contrasting mini for the heels, toes, and cuffs. So I did the heel on here is the Holly O's toe from the Over Easy socks that I used for the heel. So I haven't actually worn these yet, so I'm not sure if it's gonna be good, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's, I think that's pair number 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of socks that I recorded, that I kept track of in my Ravelry. So I think that's it for, oh no, it's not it. Okay, I made another Musselburgh. When I went to, so another trip that I went on was, I went to the Azores. Most people don't know where that is. It's a Portuguese island off the coast. It's several hundred kilometers away from the coast. I think a lot of people have heard of Madeira, but the island where we were is São Miguel. So I needed a project to knit while I was traveling, and I knew that I would be in a car, kind of looking out the window a lot, so I wanted something that was easy, thoughtless. So Musselburgh to the rescue. And this is Woolerton Estates. I think the tweed base is the Engineer, and it's like a plum colorway. Again, it'll be linked in the notes, in the project notes. The next thing that I finished, it's actually several of the same thing, is my own hat design. So I had this idea, and I knit this hat years ago, and it's out of Brooklyn tweed, and I loved it. And I always wanted to write out the pattern and publish it. And I finally got around to it. So see, I haven't been like sitting doing nothing, but I couldn't find my notes. I don't know if I took notes. I don't know if you guys are like that. I'm really terrible at taking notes when I knit things that don't follow a pattern. So I pulled that out, you know, looked at it, did some number crunching, and I made this one because I had this yarn in my stash. I don't love these colors. It's way nicer in a gradient, but I had this in my stash and I wanted to use it. So this is my second, I called it the Horries hat, and let me explain why. When I designed this one, when I came up with this concept, it's because I was looking out my window. I have a lot of windows here. I have all trees, and there's several tree lines in the back that way, because I have acreage. And the closest tree line is always the darkest one, right? Then the one behind that is a little bit lighter, and the one behind that is a little bit lighter, and the one behind that is a little bit lighter. So that's where this idea came from. So that's why I called it the Horries hat. And I want to call it the Horizon hat because it doesn't sound nice. So I just made up a word. So Horries, that's what this hat is called. So this one has a yarn pom-pom, and it's really heavy, but it weighs the hat down nicely because it's pretty slouchy. Actually, I can just try it on, right? So it's pretty slouchy. but this yarn pom-pom makes it just the right heaviness to be nice and slouchy. So then I wrote this one. Oh boy, what is going on? So this is the hat that I used to write out my pattern. Then I had it tested and one of the girls is like, well, I probably could have done 18 rounds less. So math brain, 18 rounds less is essentially one less set of repeats of this stripe sequence. So I whipped up to Ottawa, went and got more Brooklyn tweed and knit this version, just the shorter version, which turned out really nice. I actually really love the green and it's a lot less slouchy. So now you see super slouchy, not so slouchy. And then, because I did 3 sizes, I had youth, adult small, and adult large. And I wanted to make sure that the small, because nobody was testing it, I wanted to make sure that the small would work. So I used the leftovers from this one to knit this one. I just did the stripes backwards. So I went from light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark. And the numbers worked. So off went my pattern. So the pattern is available for purchase. If you watch this soonish, you might have time to knit one for Christmas. I've been homesick, so I've had lots of time to knit. So I knit this in, you could probably knit it in a day if you're literally doing nothing else. Otherwise, probably 2 days. So anyway, go check it out if you're interested. I have some other patterns there too, but this is my new one. The other thing that I kind of made up, and I might, it's too simple to, I'm not gonna write up a pattern, but is this cowl. So remember I said I didn't like cowls because they leave too much neck exposed. I made this one. It's like I could literally wear it as a headband. It looks really strange, but anyway. This is how it sits. So I like this when I'm outside because I can tuck my face into it. It doesn't go down. I wore it when I went for a walk yesterday and it was really great because no air gets in there because it's really tight. So the idea came from a little baggie of mini handspun skeins that I had from the first ever yarn festival I went to in Kitchener-Waterloo. And I had bought this little bag of handspun minis that I've been staring at for years. And I wanted to use them up. And I just thought of this the one day. And I thought to myself, it's a great way for someone to use up stash minis, especially all the Advent minis everybody's gotten and don't know what to do with. And at the same time, you're practicing color work with 2 hands. So if you're a thrower like me, but you want to be able to do color work with your 2 hands, one, your main color here, and then your contrasting color on the left side, then it's a great way to practice that and use stash minis. So I might do a little tutorial about how I came up with this and how to hold your yarn, blah, blah, blah. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Oh, I just found a lonely pair of socks back here. These are giant felted socks. I came across a photo of somebody wearing big socks like this and decided I was gonna figure out how to do it. So I just made some giant socks out of, it's Patton's, wool, anyway. And then I had leftovers, I think this is Briggs & Little. And then I put them in the washing machine the other day with some towels and they're like slipper socks now. So these were fun too. All right, I cleaned up a little bit here and the next thing I'm going to talk about is my grandpa cardi, because I finished the back and it's blocked. So here it is in all its glory. I think it looks pretty good. I feel pretty clever right now because I finished the whole back, all the decreases. I'm pretty sure I took decent notes. I'm definitely not writing up the pattern for this because grading a sweater like this would be way too much work. And as much as I like spreadsheets, I don't know if I have the juice for that. But I have started, which side is this gonna be? I guess it's gonna be this side. I'm just looking at where the placement of the cables are. So I've got one of the sides done. It looks like it's gonna be really skinny right now, but I mean, when I block it, it'll block out a lot. And then I'm gonna be putting on, obviously, a button band on that side. So that's where I'm at on that. It's slow going, but I've been working on it, so it'll get done. I have no deadline. I'm just making it for me. I'm not planning to publish it. It's just one of those things. I hope my sister doesn't ask me for one. Sorry, my voice is starting to go a little bit because I live alone and I've been at home since Monday. I haven't actually spoken to another human for a long time. This is the first time I speak other than voice messages, voice texts. Sometimes those are necessary just because you don't want to text too long. Right, Leanne? Anyway, next up is the Icelandic sweater that I'm working on now. So the story behind this is when I posted that little video on Instagram about the sweater I made Jakob while we were in Iceland, my friend Sandy texts me and asks me if I can make him and his wife sweaters for Christmas. So of course I say yes. And because like I always say yes to knitting, especially if somebody asks me to make them something cool. I say no if somebody asks me to make them something ugly or that I find ugly. So I went on the Alafos website, loaded up all the yarn that he wanted, and with the shipping, which was 32 euros, with the shipping, it was like $264. So I tell him this before I hit purchase and send, and he's okay with it, mostly. He's like, wow, that's expensive. So I went to price it in Ottawa, at the yarn shop in Ottawa that sells Lopi, and it was $100 more. Like, isn't that crazy? $100 extra, and that's not shipped. That's just yarn and me driving up to Ottawa to go pick up the yarn. So I was like, nope, we're buying it from Iceland. So I hit send. They ship it. I'm looking at the tracking, warehouse in Toronto, November 14th. I'm like, sweet, it's in Canada. Then Canada Post goes on strike. So this lovely yarn has been in a Canada Post warehouse for over a month. And then because I don't spend that much time on social media, don't listen to the news or anything like that, I hear a truck in my driveway and I'm like, oh, what is that? I look out, it's Canada Post truck. Like, sweet. I guess the strike is over. I hope that's my yarn. But for some reason, they didn't knock on the door to deliver the yarn. So I had to wait till the next day and go pick it up with the little slip at the post office. So here it is. So I went to pick it up on Wednesday. I just like zip. Didn't even put on a bra or anything like that. I just put on a coat. Nobody can tell. And I went to pick up my yarn. So on Thursday, I started the sweater. And I get to like, almost the color work is done. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this looks really weird. It's like cone shaped and it's definitely not big enough to fit a dude that has a 50-inch chest. So I look at the pattern because I'm working this pattern in reverse. And I realized that I missed an increase at the very beginning of the color work. So I had to start it all over. Well, I mean, I had to start it over. I started it here again. I had to rip it out, did all the increases that I needed, and now it makes more sense. I have the right stitch number. So I basically was here yesterday morning, and then yesterday, because I was stuck at home, I got most of the color work done for the yoke. So I'm probably at this point 3 rounds away from being done the color work, and then I can split for the sleeves and work the body in. Whoop, I dropped some stitches. There we go. So this has been a really fun knit. I'm also thinking of recording a video on how I knit low-piece sweaters backwards, like from the top down, because traditionally all the Icelandic sweaters are made from the bottom up. So you knit the body, then you knit the sleeves and you attach them, and then you work the color work. But I'm a really big fan of top-down sweaters. I reverse engineered the pattern I used for my son's sweater because while we were traveling, I wanted him to be able to try it on so that I can make the sleeves the right length, so I can make the body the right length, so that we could try it on for fit, like around the chest. And it took me a little while to figure out how to work the color chart backwards, especially where the increases were and stuff like that. And when I looked it up on YouTube, I could not find a video that showed us knitters, how to reverse the knitting of an Icelandic sweater. So I'm thinking of recording a video about how I figured that out and how I do it, because there isn't one. And if there is one, I did not find it. So stay tuned for that, I think. I went on the Alafos website and I found a free pattern that they offer, which is actually the pattern that I purchased when I was there the first time. I think I mentioned that earlier. So I think I'm gonna tackle that at some point, maybe even today while I'm in the swing of things. I might as well do that. So that's it, my friends, for the knitting content. If you're all done and you don't want to hear about traveling and other crafts and books and stuff, then I'll see you next time. And if you're going to stick around, then thanks. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the trip I was talking about in my last episode. So that trip to South America ended up being really, really amazing. I was nervous, and I expressed that a lot in my last episode. Because everybody's like, oh, South America is going to be really dangerous. And I mean, everywhere is dangerous that you travel by yourself. Any big city, I mean, the dangers are a little bit different, but like if you go to a really crowded place in Paris, I'm sure you still have to watch your stuff, right? For pickpockets and whatever. I did Santiago, Chile and Valparaiso, Chile by myself, and I loved it. There's something about traveling alone that is very satisfying, because you do what you want when you want. You get up when you feel like it. You leave the hotel when you feel like it. You eat when you feel like it. If you feel like ducking into this little bookstore, that's going to be amazing. And you don't have to worry about somebody else like eye rolling. I don't want to look at books. I did manage to ask for English books in Spanish language, and she understood me, so that was good. Chile is very nice. I at no point felt unsafe. I mean, I had like a little pack, a little crossbody pack with all my stuff in there. I mean, I'm not walking around with like thousands of dollars either, so I wasn't worried about that. I never worried about my safety. Mind you, I never walked around like at night by myself, other than around my hotel to go find a restaurant, but it was fairly residential where I was, so I didn't feel badly. I went to great restaurants. I went to the same restaurant twice, and it was the same waiter, and he recognized me, and he's like, do you want the same drink? And I was like, yes, absolutely. So the pisco sour was like, pfft. I remember having that in Peru after I hiked the Inca Trail with my friend Nancy, Cabin Design Co. Nancy. and I really liked it. And I liked it even more this time because I drink more now. And I ate a lot of ceviche. Anyways, visited Valparaiso. It was this cute little ocean town. It was really foggy the day that we were there. Anyway, I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're going to be here forever otherwise. So Chile, then I flew to Buenos Aires, and I love Buenos Aires. Like, I want to go back 20 million times. It's so lovely. There's obviously some less lovely parts, but on the whole, it's a really cool. I ventured around a lot by myself. Diane and I would go into the center of town together because they live on the outskirts or like in a more residential part of the city. You have to drive into the main part, like the touristy part. So on my first whole day, she had an appointment near that bookstore that I wanted to go to. I'm going to go find the bag. Hang on one sec. So here we are. I think I mentioned that bookshop in my last video, and I couldn't wait to go, and it did not disappoint. So yeah, it's called the Grand Splendid, and it's literally an old theater with a ton of books in it. So I'll put a picture right here. So if you're ever in Buenos Aires, you have to go check out this bookstore. So I ended up buying The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's an Oscar Wilde book. I think it's the only book he's ever written. Anyway, it was good. I bought that was my souvenir book. I think now my son is reading it. He ended up buying his own copy. He's into the classics now too. Yeah, so Buenos Aires is a beautiful, beautiful city. There's a lot of green. There's a lot of old buildings. There's a part of the city that's called the Little Paris. And it literally looks like it could be Paris. It's lovely. From there, me and Diane's friend, her name escapes me right now. Again, I'm having issues today. We ended up spending one day in Montevideo. And last time I was having a hard time pronouncing it. It's Montevideo in Uruguay. Didn't really have anything to brag about. There's like a couple of nice buildings. Other than that, it wasn't really that exciting. We just walked around a little bit, took some pictures, did a tour of one of the old buildings, which was really cool. And then we came back, and that was it. From there, I went to Sao Paulo, met up with Tati. We had a great time. She had me going everywhere. I was so exhausted. We both ended up getting sick because she wanted to show me everything. So we were literally on the go for 12 hours a day. We ate some awesome food. We visited a ton of stuff, museums. I'm sure we found some bookstores in there too. She was desperately trying to find me a yarn shop, but we found kind of like a little yarn market, but it was mostly acrylic stuff. We did markets, had some meals with her family, her brother and her mom. So that was really nice. We walked down the main road. God, I wish I could remember what it's called. Definitely recommend. South America, love it. One of the ladies, Heather, that tested my hat is on her way there shortly in January. I was like, oh, you're gonna love it so much. So anyway, that's it for South America. The next big trip I went on was to the Azores. So I'll put a little photo of where that is on the globe in the world. And I went there with my friend Angie and her husband. Angie's my coworker and my friend. And God, so her and I went to Lisbon and then São Miguel years ago. I wish I could remember, 2016. Maybe a little bit more recently, but maybe not. Anyway, she fell in love with the Azores. We loved Lisbon. We loved the mainland. I definitely want to go back because I want to go to Porto and I want to do more of the ocean towns and stuff like that. But we ended up doing just Lisbon and then the Azores, and she fell in love with it, and she went back a lot. And then when she met her husband, she took him. Then when they got married, they decided they were going to buy a house there because they would like to retire there. So Angie's a little bit older than I am. So we went there, stayed at her house. So it ended up being a, pretty cost-effective trip for me, like a decent trip. I think I went for a week. The flight was not cheap because I flew direct. And Air Canada, oh my God, like don't even get me started on the delays. I'm always shocked if an Air Canada flight is on time. Let's just say that. We had a blast. They drove me around for a whole week. They brought me to all kinds of stuff. And Angie knows I'm obsessed with lighthouses. So she literally brought me to every single lighthouse on that island. It's not a big island. There are only 5 lighthouses, but she brought me to all of them. So that was amazing. We ate some food. We ate lots of gelato. There's like a really cute gelato place there that we went to in São Miguel. Is that the name of the town? Ponta Delgada is the city, the main city. So we spent a lot of time there. I got this new piercing. I also got a new tattoo right here that says "Be Curious." I think I read 2 books while I was there. I knit my Musselburgh, but we drove around a lot. The Azores is stunning. And unless you're driving down the middle of the island to get like from one point to the next, there's a lot of coastal roads and you're always by the sea, almost always by the sea. Literally, when I looked out my bedroom window at her place, I was looking at the sea. I mean, it wasn't super close, but I could see it pretty clearly. So when I came home, I really missed the sea, like a lot. So that was end of July, early August, during my summer holidays. And then the next trip was Iceland. And that was an epic one. So this was the dad trip. I don't know I can't remember if I talked about this before, but in 2019, I'm out for breakfast with my dad after work one morning. He's like, I want to go to Iceland. I was like, really? Okay, we can make that happen. Because he hadn't traveled since he met his wife like 30 years ago because she doesn't travel. She's got some like phobias. So he hasn't traveled since he met her really, unless it's by car. So he tells me this over breakfast. I'm like, well, why don't we make it like a little family trip? We'll bring my sister and my kid. So then that set the wheels in motion. We started doing research. We booked our whole trip for September of 2020. Then the pandemic hit, so we had to cancel it. And then in God, the dates are starting to... My dad had a stroke, had 2 strokes actually. And then he was paralyzed and he was hospitalized. So this happened in 2022 and he passed in February of 2023. So this was the trip that we had planned with my dad, and we did it, just the 3 of us. So me, my sister, and my son. And I did one of these with a little popsicle stick. I published pictures of him just so we could kind of take him with us and have a good laugh. My dad was he liked to laugh. He liked to have fun. So he would approve of this. I know some people probably thought it was really creepy, but some people thought it was really funny. And I thought it was funny. So we were there 10 or 11 days. I think we were there like 11 days, but we arrived on day 1 and we left on day 11 kind of thing. So that really left 9 days in between. I think that's what it was. Anyway, we drove the whole island. We didn't stop at all. I was just go, go, go all the time. We saw a lot of awesome stuff. I can't even, if you can ever go to Iceland, do it. As exhausted as I was and as sick I was the last couple of days, I ended up getting really sick when I got home. Just like I got sick when I was in South America when I got home, because you go hard and you don't have time to rest and your immune system gets run down. So anyways, I ended up getting sick the last couple of days, but I literally would have like done the whole island, go back to the beginning, and then started over again. Because that place is so stunning. Because I like to travel so much, I don't usually want to go back to the same place twice, but I've been to Iceland before with Nancy, Cabin Design Co. Nancy, and her sister Mel. We went probably close to 10 years ago, and I always wanted to go back because we had done just a little quick trip and we stayed around Reykjavik, so I wanted to do the whole island. When I heard that there was a ring road, I'm like, I'm doing that. So I think my kid and I are both down to go back at some point. So anyway, if you can ever go to Iceland, definitely recommend. Pretty much every place I go, I recommend. So that's it for traveling. I'm going to Boston for a weekend with my friend Eric and my son in January. So that'll be fun. I've been to Boston a couple times already, but the boys have not been yet, so that's going to be fun. I think Eric wants to drink some beer, and Jacob's going to find some food, and we're just going to have a good time. So that's it for the traveling stuff. Next, I wanted to share with you guys a couple of new crafts that I've been trying out. I've always been curious about pottery, and namely like throwing pottery on a pottery wheel, you know, like ghost style, but way less sexy by yourself. So these are the first couple of pieces I made. Some of them are just handmade. So I made these little dishes for like my notions and stuff. And then I painted them, and they're really hideous, but whatever, they'll serve a little purpose. And then this plate that I will probably, I don't know, maybe I'll shoot it or something, I don't know. It's definitely not pretty. But whatever. They gave us clay to play with by hand, and then this is the first thing I ever made on a wheel. So I don't know if she trimmed the bottom and put my initials on it, because I don't remember doing this little like thing down here. But this is the first little bowl I ever made on a pottery wheel. So I'm going to keep it. I painted it this weird green, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the pottery place that we went to. The lady's not like super friendly. She didn't offer any tips on how to do stuff. We had to ask all the questions. So I'm going to try to find a different place to go just to have somebody actually sit down and teach us stuff. And then when we paint, like, this is how you're going to do it. If you want this effect, you can try this. If you want, you know, there was just too much autonomy in this place. When you're doing something for the first time, you need some hand holding, and she did none of that. So, and not super friendly. Like the first time we got there, I was like, I don't even know if I want to stay. I feel like they don't want us here. Anyway, not a great first experience. So I don't know if we'll go back. Leanne and I wanted to do that together. So we'll probably search another place, probably in Ottawa, to see if we can try that somewhere else with somebody that will actually teach us how to do it. The next thing I tried is a lot more exciting and actually really, really satisfying, is lino carp. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't know if I had ever heard of this until, I don't know, a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, that looks really fun. So this is the first thing that I ever made. So I don't know if, it's basically like this, it's like an eraser almost, but like a really soft one. And then you have these carving tools and you carve out the images. So this is the West Point Lighthouse in PEI. I just basically like put tracing paper over my phone. This is my favorite lighthouse in PEI. And I carved it out. See? It's so cool. And this is the result that it gave me. So I think after this one, I was really hooked. And then I wanted to find something simple to do. So I found these little little turtles swimming in the ocean. And this is what the print looks like. Little turtles. And then my other work partner slash friend from work, Christine, is obsessed with owls. So I carved this little guy out. But I wasn't super happy at the result, but he's super cute. I wanted to make her like maybe a bookmark or something like that, but the bookmark I made was ugly, so I didn't give it to her. The next thing I printed was this little Christmas tree. Obviously, my little bubbles need some work. And then the last thing I made, was it last week? Was this hand. I ended up giving it to, like, a print to my massage therapist, my friend. And she loved it. So this is the print. Isn't it fun? So I think it's fair to say that I'm totally obsessed. And I have a great teacher for that. Her name is Vanessa. She is French, which is fun. And she is a wonderful teacher and a wonderful artist. I'll link her her work below. She's Vava on Instagram, and she has all kinds of like really stunning stuff. The first time I heard of her was when Nancy bought me a print of a lighthouse. So I ended up making my own print of a lighthouse, but Nancy gave me the first one, so that's how I discovered her. And then she gave a workshop, and that's when I made my first lighthouse, and it was lovely. So that's it for new crafts that I have been dabbling in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to try, but I don't think so at this point. I definitely have my hands full. I bought some lino supplies, like just bare minimum, because I don't know if you're like that, but when you get into like a new craft that you're curious about, you just go balls out and buy all the things, and then they just sit there. So I did my first lino thing, the lighthouse, and then I sat on it for a while, but I was obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I went and bought a super cheap kit at Michael's, used the coupon, and I made the little turtles. So I think the kits that I have, I will use. I ended up buying some of the plates that you engrave. I have a couple things of paint. I have a brayer, like the roller thing. So that's it. I will not be buying a pottery wheel. Definitely not. As fun as it is, that's just one of those things I think Leanne and I will just go to the shop and do on our own, or take a class or something like that. But that's it. So the other thing I was going to talk about is books, but honestly, I set my goal at 52 for this year, and I'm at 81. Yeah. So I'm 30 books over. I don't know if I'm going to finish another one this year. I'm not really rushing. I didn't want to put pressure on myself, because I think last year I was like, okay, can I get over 100 books? And then can I hit 120? And anyway, this year I was like 52. That's one a week. I think that's pretty doable. And like I said, I'm at 81 now. I've been reading a lot of historical fiction. At one point, I had just finished a historical fiction, and most of them are based in like World War II times. So I had finished, I think it was the London Book Affair, and then I started the Paris Library, and then the Rose Code, and I was doing those, one in audio and one physical book at the same time. And I was like, oh, thank God one was in Paris and one was in England, like near London. So they're different enough that I didn't mix them up, but that was a lot of World War II historical fiction all at once. I read some more Leslie Crew. I talked about her in my last episode. I read the new Lucy Foley. I brought that one on one of my trips, probably the trip to the Azores. Anyway, there's been a lot of books. I won't bore you with all that. I'll link to I have Goodreads, but I also now have Fable, and I kind of like their setup a little bit better. It's more attractive. It's visually appealing. So I think that's it, my friends. I'm at an hour and 9 minutes of recording time. I'm probably going to shave that down to, try to get it down to 45 minutes. I'm glad I made it out. A little forced time off, unexpected free time was kind of a blessing. And the little kick in the pants I got from Leanne yesterday, she just sent me a really nice message. And it encouraged me to sit and record finally. So thank you for that. And I'll see you guys whenever. Look at this beautiful sunset. Can you see some little friends? There's deer. How lovely.